Welcome to Inside the 12. Week 9 of Big 12 play is upon us. My partner, let's bring him in, Taylor McHargue. He is on location once again, one of the busiest men in show business, and we consider football on the college level, the way we bring it to you, entertainment. One of the most entertaining guys in the industry, Taylor McHargue. What's up, dude?
How are we doing?
I mean, we're doing, it's week 9, man, and we've got 11 teams with 2 conference losses in the hunt. I mean, what does that say to you about this conference?
Yeah, it's been the story for this league for the past couple of years, and we've seen it again, you know, the parity, and even at the top of the league. I think if you don't bring your A game on a week-to-week basis, you can get beat by almost anybody in this league, and it was an exciting week. But like you mentioned, there's a number of teams that are still hovering, still a chance to compete for this league.
Obviously, a look at the standings. You see Texas Tech. They are now 4th in the Big 12, no longer in control of their own destiny after that 26-22 loss to Arizona State, who is right back in it. And props to Cincinnati and Houston. If you bet Houston's win total before the season, you can walk to the betting counter with your ticket right now and cash out. They've got 6 wins. We're predicted to have 5.5. They are bowl eligible, as is Cincinnati. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, incredible what both of these staffs have done, overhauling their roster in a lot of ways. But I think consistency at quarterback has been big for both of these teams, right? Connor Wegman has been exactly what I think Houston needed in a team that likes to play good defense and run the football well. And in Cincinnati, Brendan Sorsby has been unbelievable for them. 18 touchdowns to 1 interception. Outside of that first half against Nebraska, he's been great all season. And I think once he settled in to his kind of a rhythm, that team, he's been phenomenal for them, also running the football well, over 300 yards on the ground. So both of those quarterbacks, I think, leading their teams, and some big opportunities again this week in the Big 12.
We check out that Week 9 schedule. A lot of really big games. I mean, it starts off with a low-key affair that's not so low-key, right? The Sunflower State Showdown. That's going to be at noon on TNT. On buys this week, Arizona and Colorado. I'll actually be at TCU and West Virginia. Rich Rod looks to turn things around. Of course, Josh Hoover looks to keep things going. By the way, we are so lucky. We'll have Kalani Sitake, BYU head coach, with us later in the show. And they are not necessarily enjoying that huge win because it's back to work time, but that Holy War victory, probably the highest stakes in the history of that matchup. BYU, a huge win, and now they take it in to Iowa State.
Yeah, Utah, I mean, on the offensive side, I actually thought Utah played pretty well, but it was the turnovers that did them in. And I think also the decisions by Kyle Whittingham on a couple of those 4th down opportunities where you thought maybe Utah would take the points, instead going for it on 4th down. And credit to BYU. This is now a top 20 defense again, and I think they showed up in a big way. And for BYU on the offensive side, they're doing such a good job running the football. I think as long as they are running the football well, that's what sets up this play action for Bear Bachmeier. And it's something we're going to talk about later. But until somebody is able to slow BYU down running the football, I think that play action passing game is going to continue to be effective. And that's what's helping the freshman quarterback in a big way.
Aaron Roderick, BYU's offensive coordinator, saying this week, the things he's doing, it's not normal. And he'll have a chance to do them against a depleted Iowa State defense, specifically at cornerback. How do you see him trying to take advantage of that in this huge matchup, 3:30 Eastern time on Fox?
Yeah, this is another game where Iowa State, you know, let's go back to their loss at Cincinnati a couple of weeks ago. Remember how well Cincinnati ran the football. I think that's plays into what BYU wants to do. I think they're going to try to run the football on a down-to-down basis. And if Iowa State doesn't have an answer there, I think it's going to be a long day. What's interesting in this game is that Iowa State's the favorite right now. And so it just goes back to this parity that we talk about in this league, in the Big 12. But for BYU, if they can continue to play that top 20 defense, create some takeaways, and run the football well, all of this, and we've been saying this for weeks now, for a young freshman quarterback at Bear Bachmeier, they are protecting him so well. And I don't just mean the offensive line, the entire team playing good team football, good special teams as well. I think that's why they're still sitting here undefeated with a big win over Utah, and they're going to have to do the same this week against Iowa State.
What they're doing is phenomenal. And Rocco Becht is phenomenal as well. Quick thoughts about his play in this game and what he needs to do for Iowa State to get back in it. Remember, losers of 2 straight and then a bye. It's been tough times right now for the Cyclones.
Yeah, I think Rocco Becht has been a guy that they've had to put a ton on his plate really the last couple seasons, but especially this year. They're asking him probably to do more than is fair. But again, in a big game like this against BYU, he's got to play well. They have to stay on the field. I think the best opportunity for Iowa State is limiting possessions on the other side for BYU and that running attack that we just talked about. I think they're going to have to continue to lean on the tight end room that's been so good for them all season. But Rocco Becht has to show up in a big way, and they've got to hit some of their explosives. That's been an area that this offense has been lacking the last couple of weeks, and I think is why you've seen them struggle on the offensive side. If they could stay on the field, create a couple of those explosive passing plays, and keep that tight end room activated, I think that's kind of a recipe for this offense to come away with a win over BYU.
BYU's defense doing really well against the rush, ranked third in the Big 12, 121 yards a game. When we come back, another huge matchup for you. Connor Wigman in Houston trying to stay hot in the Valley of the Sun. You got to go through Tempe, though, if you want to the top of the Big 12. Just ask Texas Tech. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Inside the 12. The race for Arlington, the Big 12 championship, is wide open. Of course, that game on December 6th. Tickets are still available, if you can imagine that. It is going to be another party in North Texas. Speaking of parties, Houston headed out to Tempe, where they're still partying after that huge win against Texas Tech. But the Sun Devils got to get their mind right, because this Houston team means business, Taylor. That game, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time on Fox. Arizona State, more than a touchdown favorite.
Yeah, I think Arizona State, that was a big win over Texas Tech, and I think did exactly what you needed to do against a physical defense and a really solid offense, even with Will Hammond in the game. The biggest thing that stood out to me in that game for Arizona State is how well they handled ball control, almost 2-to-1 in time of possession. They just limited time of possession and opportunities for Texas Tech on the other side. It's a little different challenge this week against Houston. Houston is a team that wants to run the football well, play good defense on the other side. But I think the biggest challenge in this game for Houston is whenever they are on the defensive side of the ball, they have got to keep Sam Leavitt in the cage, so to speak. Do not let him break, contain, and create some of those plays off script that he's done such a nice job of. And then the number one guy on the other side when Houston has the football, Dean Connors, has to have a big day. And it's not just running the football. Get him the ball out of the backfield as well. I think that's the most important player, even more important than Connor Wegman in this game for the Cougars, if they're going to have a chance to go in and get a win and a big upset over Arizona State.
Yeah, Dean Connors, 600 yards rushing, and you mentioned it, the passing, as a receiving threat, he's got 16 catches, and he's got plenty more left in him as far as that is concerned. Now, I know we want to talk about Sam Leavitt. Let's cue up the quarterback club tape here, because you've got some highlights to break down.
Yeah, I thought Sam Leavitt, that was as gutty a performance as we've seen from a quarterback this season. One of the things that Sam Leavitt does such a great job of is breaking, contain, and making plays happen off script. This play in the first quarter, there's a pressure look from Texas Tech. They back out of it, but still, even with rushing 3, able to get home. And watch this, working to his left. He knows he's going to take a shot, delivers a strike downfield. And I think this is what makes Sam Leavitt so dangerous. Even when you feel like you've got him off platform, he's able to deliver the ball downfield, even under duress, takes that hit, shows how tough he is, and shows that accuracy even when he's getting hit. I thought that was an extremely good play from Sam Leavitt. This was the most important play of the game. 4th and 2, Texas Tech's finally come back and got a chance to win this game and a chance to put this game away. What happens? Sam Leavitt breaks contain again, delivers the ball to none other than Jordan Tyson, and this set up the opportunity to win this game. But for Arizona State, Sam Leavitt, if you continue to let him break contain, and if Houston doesn't do a good job of keeping him in the cage like we talked about, he's going to get you beat because he's so good outside the pocket, extending plays and keeping his eyes downfield.
Remember when Jordan Tyson was off to a slow start? Yeah, that's over with. He is like far and away, numbers-wise and performance-wise, ahead of the rest of that wide receiver class. All right, speaking of class, we got some big-time classy plays for you. We're talking about last week's game-breaking plays brought to you by Hell of a Good Dips. Game on, dip in with Hell of a Good. We start in Fort Worth, where it turned into Fort Fun for TCU. Look at this early on. You're checking out Trent Battle, 65 yards for a touchdown. TCU would accumulate 196 rushing yards. They beat Baylor 42-36. And then, down 7-0 early, Connor Wigman finds Amari Thomas. Short pass, breaks 3 tackles, no problem. That's the old school West Coast offense for you there. A 52-yard touchdown. Houston beats Arizona 31-28. Props to you, Mr. Thomas, for making people miss. And then, how about this? Oklahoma State deep in the Cincinnati red zone, and Matthew McDoom. That's right, picks off Sam Jackson. Sam Jackson says, hey, man, give me my football back. He returns it 100 yards for his first defensive touchdown. Cincinnati wins 49-17. All right, we're going to step aside right now. When we come back, Kalani Sitake has done it again. BYU looking to be undefeated again for Halloween, except for that's not a costume, that is real. We'll talk to the head coach next. Welcome back to Inside the 12. It is our pleasure. It is our honor right now to introduce to you head coach of the 11th ranked undefeated BYU Cougars, Kalani Sitake. Coach, thank you so much for taking time with us this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on.
It's so great for us to have you on. That win against Utah, I want to talk about the past before we jump into the future. That wasn't just a win for the football team. It felt like a win for the school, the students, everybody, because it was the highest stakes that we'd seen that game played at in a long time, a game that you're very familiar with. What does a victory like that on a stage like that against an opponent like Utah mean for BYU?
Well, it was just an exciting moment. Both teams ranked and a lot on the line, and I'm glad that we had it at home in LaVell Edwards Stadium. But when you look at it, the preparation, the entire week of it, getting our guys ready for the game, thought it was a good moment for us, a good step for us, headed towards where we want to be. And we're still playing really good football, but I still think we can improve and get better. And a lot of mistakes that we made in that game, but man, it was a good battle back and forth, and glad that we were able to make the plays and get the victory.
Over the summer, the BYU logo, instead of the Y, could have been the question mark, right? Who's going to be the quarterback? What are we going to do this year? And once again, there's an infrastructure there. There's something going on there that keeps your guys dialed in. And when the time comes, they play and make big plays. What is it about your football program that enables your young men and puts them in positions to succeed?
Well, I think the closeness of our team and the young men that believe in each other. That's been the key for us the entire time, is that they don't give up on each other. Nobody points fingers. When adversity hits, they know they can count on each other to pull each other out of it. And so we've had a great culture that's been put here, but in order to have great leadership, you have to have guys that are willing to follow as well. So we focus on humility and allowing young men to make mistakes, but then also to get better and learn from them. That's what practice is all about. And so the ability to train ugly and to put yourself in a growth mindset situation where you're trying to get better and even getting yourself in uncomfortable situations and learning from them, that's been the key. And so we're trying not to hide from the mistakes that you make on the football field and you try to address them, but you also want to make sure that these guys know that we care about them and that the importance of every little thing that matters when you stack up every play, and it could be the minimal things, but if you have a 1/11 responsibility on the field, everybody's counting on you to do your one part.
One guy who has found that groove is Bear Bachmeier, a freshman quarterback coming in. What about him has separated him from the pack and other quarterbacks that you have seen at such a tender young age?
Well, I think it's really helpful to have an older brother that's done it. I think someone showed me a stat that last time a true freshman led a team to 6-0 start was a man by the name of Hank Bachmeier. So that's his big brother. So when you have a big brother that does things like that, I think it's that helps out. Having a family that's athletic and is all knows football. That's a key too. So it'd be nice for me to take credit for that, but I think he was built this way, and all we had to do is give him a platform where he can perform at his best. And overall, he's such a great young man, and he's humble. And what I love about him is that he never gets too up and never gets too down. He's always trying to work and get better. I mean, we make plays. If you watch him after a series, whether it was successful or not, he's always on the sideline looking at the tablet, trying to find ways and discussing it with our offensive coordinator Aaron Roderick and trying to get better. That's him and the way he was made.
You mentioned Aaron Roderick. How much has he been able to expand the playbook as Bear has really evolved ahead of schedule?
Well, I think Bear's been wanting, he's had an appetite for more, and I think, what I love about the way A-Rod's been able to do it is just bit by bit, but also giving him a lot on his plate and giving him the autonomy to make decisions. It's a lot of times you want to just control as much as you can, but allowing Bear to make checks and make audibles at the line of scrimmage, sometimes it's hard. You're like, well, I don't know if this freshman can do it, but he can do it, and he's a student of the game. I mean, he actually impressed and overexceeded my expectations with the football IQ that he has, and that's actually makes me even happier that we're in this position right now. But that being said, there's still a lot of work for us to do as a team, definitely as an offense, and he knows he can improve even as a quarterback. So trying to find ways to get better and make sure that we keep this thing rolling.
Yeah, to keep it rolling, you got to go into Ames, right? It's a tough environment. BYU 0-5 all-time against Iowa State. How do you snap that streak and come home with another huge victory?
Well, I don't think we're focused on the end result. I think we're going to enjoy as much time as we can, and try not to waste any of those seconds in the 60-minute that we have in that clock. So Iowa State's a well-coached team with Matt Campbell, does an amazing job there, and they're a dangerous opponent. We watch them on film and we see how they play the game. We have tons of respect for them. So it's going to take our best shot. And so the best shot just doesn't show up on Saturday. We've got to work really hard during the week, and we're looking forward to putting together some practices and getting ourselves in the best position that we can. And it's easier said than done, but we're looking forward to the matchup and seeing how we can perform in this game this weekend.
Big time matchup Saturday at Iowa State, 3:30 Eastern time on Fox. Coach Sitake, thank you so much for joining us and for once again setting the bar on and off the field for the rest of the Big 12. You guys are doing a tremendous job.
Thank you so much. Go Cougs.
When we come back, we break down all the best Big 12 matchups as we head into another spectacular Saturday of Big 12 football. Inside the 12 is brought to you by Hell of a Good Dip. Game on. Dip in with Hell of a Good. Welcome back, everybody, to Inside the 12. Pete Sousa here in the studio. Taylor McHargue on location, getting ready to analyze some more football. Looking forward to hearing his analysis right now on these Big 12 games. On a bye this week, Arizona and UCF. But I love this matchup here at Kansas State and Kansas. That is noon Eastern time on TNT. When you look at this fact, man, Kansas has lost 16 straight in the Sunflower Showdown. But hey, they're favored in this one, Taylor.
I could not believe that statistic. I had to go back and look at it a couple different times. Kansas State has won this game 16 straight times. Unbelievable. But for Kansas, it's big for both of these teams. I think that they got healthy a little bit, both of them coming off of a bye week. Kansas State, their big win over TCU created 3 takeaways in that game. I think that's the key. If you go back to Kansas when they gave away a game late to Cincinnati and one that they feel like they should have won and probably should have won, gave away late in that game, some turnovers, some issues down the stretch. Kansas cannot afford to let that happen against Kansas State. I think this is going to be incredibly competitive. I think like all of Kansas State's games to this point in the season, it's going to be filled with drama, probably a one-score game late. I think ball security is going to be paramount in this game. This should be a really fun, entertaining. The early game, 11 a.m. Central Time on TNT, this should be a really big one. You mentioned ball security in that first game. Tortilla security. All right, that's what we need in Lubbock because the 14th ranked Texas Tech Red Raiders, more than a 5-touchdown favorite against Oklahoma State this week. It could be a lot of points for Texas Tech. Yeah, for Texas Tech, what I'm looking for in this game more than anything else is I hope that Joey McGuire and this staff just keeps Behren Morton on the sidelines for one more week. I think for Oklahoma State, all the struggles that they have right now, let's call a spade a spade. Oklahoma State is trying to get young guys out there to figure out who are they going to retain for next year's roster. And you're piecing it together week by week. I think on the other side for Texas Tech, this is not a game that you need to see Behren Morton play in. I think give Will Hammond some more opportunities to get some reps. This should be a get-right game for Texas Tech. And again, hopefully Baron Morton, that injury he's able to work through over the course of this next week, and then we see him back, and down the line, obviously. But this is not one that I think Baron Morton needs to play in.
And that game, a 4 p.m. Eastern time start on ESPNU. We go to Cincinnati. Dave Aranda says the 21st ranked Bearcats, Baylor's the Bears. The Cincinnati Bearcats, Dave Aranda says this is the best team we will have seen all season long. And that's impressive because Baylor has had a really tough schedule.
Brendan Sorsby, over 2,000 yards of total offense already this season, and he has been unbelievable. And what a revelation for this Cincinnati offense. If you go back again to how they started against Nebraska, I think we thought this was going to be a bottom half of the Big 12 kind of offense, and could not have been more wrong. They've been unbelievable. I think for Baylor, and something that will be critical for Cincinnati, they have got to figure out a way to get a lead early and then sustain that lead. Because Baylor, the one thing we know about this Sawyer Robertson-led offense, they're going to score. Even against TCU, where they lost, that was a game they clawed their way back and made that a one-score game despite having 4 turnovers in that game. And they were so sloppy on the offensive side, especially early. And I think it just speaks to that level of the passing attack for Baylor is so good that for Cincinnati, you're going to have to put 4 good quarters together. I'm looking for them to build a lead early. If they don't, this is not a team that you want to have to play from behind against with this Baylor offense. But this should be a really competitive game and another big opportunity for Cincinnati.
And the Big 12 providing more gifts for the rest of America, 10:15 on ESPN. Colorado at Utah. That game could be a fireworks display. Either way, it's a super sexy matchup.
Yeah, this is another big one. And Colorado, I think Caden Salter the last couple of weeks is certainly playing better. They're getting a chance after coming off a bye themselves. Utah, the ups and downs of their season, a huge win at home over Arizona State, and then you turn around the next week, lose in the Holy War to BYU. I'm curious to see, from an emotional perspective, how do they pick themselves back up and get off the mat? I think Devin Dampier really played well. The decision-making, again, some of those 4th down conversions that they went for that they didn't get, I think that game could have gone a little bit different. It did not. So now you come off that big loss. Can they get themselves off the mat? It should be a win for them, I think, over Colorado. But this is the Colorado team that I think we're seeing them improve week in and week out. And if it's an emotional letdown spot for Utah, it would not shock me at all if CU went in there and got a win.
CU right now on the road in Salt Lake, almost a 14-point underdog. So there could be maybe they'll be looking to shorten that gap for sure, maybe get a victory on the road. All right, for Taylor McHargue, who is on location, I am Pete Sousa here in the studio, wishing you a wonderful Week 9 of Big 12 football. Can't wait to get back at it with you all next week on Inside the 12.